There was a time where the Lord told me, you have to make time for yourself. And it was a time of my life where I was not really extending, asking for help, because I have struggled with that, asking for help. I don't like being seen as vulnerable to anybody in my life. And at the time, my husband was working overnights, and I was just like taking on a little bit more than I normally would. And I was just like, still crying to God, like, God, I don't have time for myself. And he was like, you've been stubborn because there are people in your life who are asking you, hey, Vanessa, do you need help with this? And you're telling them no. And then you're crying to me saying that you don't have time for yourself. You don't feel like yourself. I was just like, it's so hard. Like, because as a mom, you feel mom guilt for wanting to do something for just yourself sometimes. And um, so that's just how I was feeling. And the Lord was just like, you need to get over that. And you need to make time for yourself. You need to make the effort to step out and make time for you. And that shut me up for a while. I'm not even gonna lie, that really shut me up because I was complaining a lot and I was overwhelmed a lot. And he was like, you're gonna have to put yourself out there. You're gonna have to put yourself out there and ask for help. So I have to say that changed my perspective a lot. Because I have to say that Jesus has dealt with me a lot when it comes to certain mindsets regarding my children, where he's just like, they're children, okay? You already knew this about them, and it's more about you adapting to their personality than them adapting to society. It's like our job to teach them the morals, how to be, a decent human being. But if they're raising their voice a little bit, in the store, that's them being a child. If they're doing this, that's them being a child. Them asking me questions, that's just them being a child. And he was just like, you need to adapt to your children, not the other way around. Like, they're being children, and yes, you are raising them to be a God-fearing child, even, and adult, but you have to adapt. You have to make time for you. So if you're overstimulated by the end of the night, you have to know your situation. Was there something that you could have done instead of doing this? Like, could you have read your word instead of doom scrolling on TikTok when you had that extra 5 minutes? Maybe you would have felt better, and I had to really take that conviction and make my days look better because of it, because I spent a lot of time crying, and God was just like, you know better. And now you double know better because I just pointed this out to you. And I have to say, it changed my life, and I just wanted to share it with you. Anybody who's struggling, trying to make time for themselves as a parent. Some people situations are different, so it was a good word for me because my situation was actually, he was chastising me because I was actually saying no to certain help. And there were areas where I could have asked for help that I wasn't asking for help. So he was basically just pointing that out in my life.